much. I think that the morning discussion was very interesting, and kind of with my theoretical background, I would love to stay on the theoretical debate, but I was asked to speak about quite practical things, so I'll do so. However, I again want to emphasize that this is true of social democracy in Europe, Central Europe, and in Hungary, that we need to regain passion and put behind economic utility, which does not mean, and this is the reflection on Gavin, that which does not mean and should not mean that we need to leave behind the economic arena. Just the opposite, actually. We need to give a higher purpose to the, or offer a narrative of why we're doing and why we're suggesting in the economic arena what we suggest. In Hungary, I'll speak about from failure to hope, which is from the pragmatics to the passionate. I'll try to speak to talk to you about four elements or four phases of the hopeful transition to victory. I'll speak a little bit about the past, 2002, 2010, 8 years of socialist governance, and then I'll speak a little bit about the present, the rule of Orban, and then I'll speak about what to do until 2014, when the elections are happening, hopefully, in Hungary, and then what needs to be done after 2014 should we be successful. The past 8 years of government of Prime Minister Medici and Prime Minister Gyurcsány, with both of which I was involved to a certain extent. I was in the leadership of the campaign of 2001-2, which made the way to Prime Minister Medici's election, and then I was communications director of Prime Minister Medici for 2 years, when we had some differences in opinion, and then I left, and then in 2004 I was the leader of the campaign of Prime Minister Gyurcsány, which I worked for as strategy director in the first half year, so 6 months, and then in 2005, April, I left. So kind of, I was involved, but then I moved away. The word I want to describe our governance was failure. And there are three elements of failures that haunt us today. One is a failure to modernize the party, which neither Prime Minister Medici nor Prime Minister Gyurcsány started to do. And my first and biggest fight with Prime Minister Gyurcsány on election night was that now he got the mandate to change the party, and he better start it as of today. He said that no, we first have to govern and then party comes second. I think he was wrong. We need to modernize the party, and we need to modernize it from a purpose point of view just as much as we need to modernize it from an organizational point of view. The second is that we failed, or the governments of the Socialist Party failed to stabilize or change the economy. And we failed in that big time. Basically, Prime Minister Medici and Prime Minister Gyurcsány has done more of the same that has been done in the past 15 or almost 20 years of transition, more austerity, neoliberal discourse, which did not offer any change in establishing a sustainable economy. And the third, there was a failure to offer hope and a positive future within the EU. We joined the EU in 2004, but we didn't offer a reason why this is important for us. Why is it important for us to be part and member in a bigger community. We didn't offer a social alternative and a theoretical alternative to nationalism, to modernization of Hungarian society, and I think that we paid the price dearly in 2010, when basically Prime Minister Orbán or Fidesz did not win the elections with a two-third majority. They didn't win the elections with a two-third majority on popular vote, but the socialists lost the elections. And due to the Hungarian electoral system, 52% of popular vote was enough for a two-third majority in parliament. But the reason was not them, the reason was us. What is Prime Minister Orbán, and this is, slip of tongue, President Orbán, Prime Minister Orbán's vision of Hungary and Hungarian politics? It's a return to the Hungarian third way. And don't make no mistake, this is not the Blairian or Schröderian third way neue Mitte, but this is a 20s or 30s concept of Hungarian uniqueness, that there is a third way of politics that is different from Western European progress, and it's different from authoritarian Eastern society or politics as well. So there is an alternative politics which is different from Western modernization and Eastern authoritarianism. So basically what Orbán, with his two-third majority, is offering is an authoritarian version of Western democracy and Eastern statism. So, and this is something very important to understand, that what's happening in Hungary now is enacting this different politics. And there are two problems with it. One is that it's not honest. So when we say that he's having a double speech or double speak, when in Brussels he's speaking about he's speaking the language of democracy, and at home he's speaking the language of authoritarianism or third wayism in this Hungarian sense. He wants to cater to two very different audiences. And what Orbán and his crowd understood about Hungary is very important. I don't know if you know about the World Value Survey, which is a survey that is done in the past 20 years, basically placing countries on an axis of openness, closeness, and secular and religious. And obviously there is a European trend line. Eastern European or post-communist countries are somewhere in the middle, and then Scandinavian countries are on the top, and then Anglo-Saxons are somewhere in between, and then Asian and totalitarian societies are downward here. And all post-socialist or post-communist countries are stepping forward on the trend line towards Western Europe, slower or slowly, slower than expected, but they are on the trend line. Hungary has diverged from the trend line and moved, in 2000, moved towards the Balkan countries, Balkan societies. In 2000, the first was done in 96, and then 2000, and then 2004. In 2000, it reached the Balkan countries, and in the 2004 survey, it passed the post-Russian or post-Soviet societies of Ukraine, and is somewhere before the Muslim post-communist or post-Soviet societies. And so what's happening in Hungary is not only authoritarian leader taking a two-third majority and using it for the wrong ends, but he kind of understood a trend, a distrust in Hungarian society towards modernization or Western values or the European Union. However, and this is what gives hope, that while this is the World Value Survey result, on the other hand, each and every survey measuring the acceptance of the European Union is flat in the past 15 or 20 years. About 70% of the people want to belong and believe in the European Union and its value system. That's why Orban has to speak this double talk, because there is kind of a mismatch in Hungarian society. Good news. Although Orban understood something from a social point of view, he did not understand something from the economic point of view. And Orban will not lose on his social vision, but he will lose or may lose on his economic vision and on his government's economic performance, which again raises the issue of what should be and would be the message of social democrats. And we should remember James Carville's famous sentence on the War Room board of Economy Stupid in the first Clinton campaign, and I think that's the agenda that Hungarian Socialist Party and Hungarian Social Democrats should put in their focus of the road to victory. But Felix has been speaking about psychology, or the role of psychology in achieving something. And translating that to what I have to say is that we need to first have a message to our voters that change is possible. Because with the two-third majority and with the anti-democratic changes that happened in Hungary in the past 2 years, our biggest enemy is not Orban and not Fidesz. They'll do what they have to do in their inability to handle the economy. The biggest enemy is apathy and hopelessness that change is possible, and change can happen. So basically, we need to have three core overarching messages, and this is: one is that there is a new left that does offer change, that there is hope that change is possible, fighting against apathy and passivity, because someone was very nice to put Hungary in line with demonstrations that happened in the Czech Republic and in Romania and elsewhere, in Paris. There are no demonstrations in Budapest. I have to disappoint you. There are some thousands of people who are having, when the sun shines, having a nice afternoon downtown. But there are no true demonstrations, and there is a total lack of participation in change. So I think that's our biggest enemy, as I said. And the third message is that we are strong. And strength is not in the Orbanian sense of force, but we're strong, meaning we're able to govern. Because with the three failures that have been there in the 8 years of socialist government, we have lost the perception that we're competent enough to govern the country. And I think that'll take time to show our potential voters that change is not only possible, but worthwhile, because there is a new crowd that has the brains and the capability that can govern the country for the better. So, path to victory is simple. Unfortunately, it's less content than form. At this point, I think we don't have to offer too much content, but basically offer a new left vision, hope that change is possible, and strength that once we get there, we will be able to govern. And then comes the hard task, what to do after a potential victory in 2014. First, it's simple. First, we have to restore democracy and restore the system of checks and balances. It's easier said than done, especially because there are checks and balances ruined not only in the current Hungarian system, but Orbán has placed certain over-term checks and balances for his anti-democratic governance. The president of the country, who has just been enacted yesterday, will rule for, or be there for another 5 years to come. The head of the Media Council, totally Fidesz, is enacted for 9 years. The head of the chief attorney is enacted for 9 years. The next governor of the National Bank, where I still work for 1 year, I just read an article today in the official Fidesz daily that they don't have to deal with me anymore because I will be gone in 9 months, and so will the governor, and then good times will come. But that new governor will be around for 9 more years. And then obviously there is the election system, which has been changed under one party, and it's a one-round election system. Actually, the details of which we don't even know. So it's hard to be prepared for a system which the details we don't yet know. So it's easier said than done to restore the system of checks and balances. I firmly believe, and this is a political statement, I firmly believe that a return to democracy and checks and balances, you need to have a new social agreement. And that social agreement should not only include the now oppositional forces, but should include the better side of Fidesz as well. Once again, easier said than done. But I don't think that you can restore democracy, and I don't think that you can restore democratic processes with another one-sided, we're better and we're more democratic than you are kind of approach. So once again, easier said than done, we need to restore democracy through a new agreement with social partners, social players, and the better side of it. And then we need to bring a new left, new economy approach to solving economic and social problems. And the key are, I think, 3 steps. One is going further with the well-being agenda, returning to a more social justice and equality tax policy, getting rid of the flat tax that has been introduced, and that's causing the biggest economic problems in Hungary, and trying to introduce what I mentioned in my intervention, bigger stakeholder democracy, participatory budgeting, especially on local levels, and maybe on the national level as well. So we need to bring change, and to bring change, you need a strong vision and a strong will that there is an alternative to what's going on in Hungary as of today. In all that, Budapest, as a city, can play a major role. Municipal elections are coming up in October 14, and obviously, whether we win or lose in 14, which I believe we will win, still, Budapest is another Hungary. And their social democratic, left liberal ideas are having a stronghold. And whatever we can do and will do in the country, we can show that we're capable of doing in Budapest. And obviously, I think it was Gavin mentioning that you need 2 terms to achieve real change. That's the Tusk government's neoliberal approach to change. Maybe we don't need 2 terms, but we can and should prove that we're capable of making change in Budapest, and that's when people will believe that we are capable of doing change on the national level as well. So this is from failure to hope.